Hi guys, Mookduke here, and today I'm playing Rust. Civ 1. Rustau? Okay, no. Today I'm playing a game that I've been hoping to get my hands on for a while, and on September 21st, they finally dropped an NDA-free demo to the public for a week, allowing me to finally try what could potentially be the game of my dreams. This game is Renown. If you haven't heard of Renown before, it's essentially a multiplayer survival game akin to Rust, but instead of being lasered across map by an AK-47, the main combat focus is on melee, with similar mechanics to Mordhau, meaning I can actually stay alive for more than 5 minutes. And if you haven't heard of Mordhau, I'm not really sure how you found my channel. Before I get into my impressions of the game, I do want to stress that this game is in alpha state, and as far as I know, it's not even close to early access yet. And although I had a lot of fun with it, even including the bugs, I'm sure most things you'll see in this video will be drastically changed by the time it does officially release. If you're an OG Rust player like me, you know exactly what I mean. So, like most survival games, when you drop into a fresh lobby, you start with absolutely nothing and have to start bloodying up your fists by punching trees to get your first bit of wood. Thankfully, in this game, you can actually spawn in a safe zone if you want, and there are some shops which you can't use yet because you're a broke-ass peasant. I somehow got very lucky and just found these two dudes having a kip, sweetly dreaming about how they logged off safely, only for the game to just let me kill them, get geared up within my first couple of minutes, which I'm sure isn't intended. So, feeling confident and armed, I was ready to begin my adventure. Heading off into the wilderness, I saw my first victim and engaged in my first bit of combat. Although this felt familiar to Mordhau, I didn't check the binds and wasn't yet accustomed to it. I also stupidly played in third person without knowing the range. I still managed to get the kill, but then, in true survival fashion, another dude with a mace came out of nowhere and showed me absolutely no mercy, causing me to go straight back to square one.
No, please, don't do it. I beg of you. Okay. GG's.
Fortunately, I left one guy alive in the safe area, so I could try again. This time, I chose the bow as my weapon of choice, which wasn't the easiest thing to use, so once again, I died pretty easily. I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent quickly and just talk about the combat. Determined to improve, I took a break from survival and hit the dual servers to train my sweaty powers of left clicking, in the hopes of being fully prepared for the wild. I'm not going to touch too much on the animations or deep dive into the combat, as it's pretty clear these aspects of the game still need some work, but despite some jank, the combat still felt fairly intuitive, and as a seasoned FPM or FPB, coining it, player, should have a fairly straightforward time in getting to grips with the mechanics. Feints were surprisingly easy to read from the start. I'd still say the combat leans more towards Mordhau than Civ 2, minus the underhands, backswings and chambers, and as far as I know, active parry is a thing, ripostes also briefly contribute to it, and morphing is in the game. In these servers, you can also build custom classes or go with the defaults, and I've got to say, the funniest part to me was seeing so many names I recognised from both games. It was like a weird Mordhau meetup where we all gathered to duke it out on fresh, uncharted but even territory. Maybe we finally found the true dung-covered peasant convention. Just like Mordhau though, War Axe is still the GOAT, and after I had proved myself in a lobby, I knew I was ready to take on the world. Jumping back into survival, I restarted the process of punching trees, getting wood, chasing deers, punching stone, getting stone, losing the deers, punch plant, get plant, make axe, hit tree again, get more wood, craft spear, and I'm out of breath, but you understand how this works. With these mats in hand, I was ready to begin building my base. During the majority of my playtime, I shacked up with some Civ 2 players, and unfortunately my shadow play bugged out several times, causing me to miss some clips that I really wanted to include in this video. However, to not leave you completely in the dark, I had some time to jump back on at a later date to explain a bit about the building. I'm going to try really hard not to compare the games too much, as Renown should stand on its own merits, but if you're a Rust player, this system will be very familiar to you. Essentially, base building works by crafting a mallet. You use the mallet to enter build mode, and as long as you have the correct materials, you're free to place the piece you selected. You start with some foundations, and then build up the walls and door frames, etc, etc. There is a slight catch, as before you can actually upgrade the walls to be secure and not like scaffolding, you need to set up a banner. A banner is a craftable item similar to the tool cupboard in Rust. It allows you or your team to mark the base and some of the area surrounding it as your own. Whoever places the banner will need to unlock it so others can set themselves as owners too, whilst ensuring they lock it after so interlopers can't. After the banner is placed, you should then be able to upgrade the scaffolds to more permanent fixtures and place the doors, locks, chests, and whatever else you desire in your own space of pre-raided comfort. I should mention that again, like that other survival game I definitely haven't already mentioned, there is upkeep necessary on your base in the form of materials placed inside the banner storage. Clicking the Show Maintenance Cost button will show you the mats needed per hour and how much upkeep time you have left with what you've already placed inside. As far as I know, you cannot use the banner as normal storage for random items. Unfortunately, during my attempt to showcase all of what you can do with the bases, the server crashed and reset all my items, but you get the idea. There's a lot of depth here. You can also mine ore, smelt materials in furnaces like gold or iron so they can be used for research, blacksmith and tailor benches to unlock stuff tech tree style, and just generally craft better items. I didn't get the chance to clip any of this, but I did see the potential of it all, and these benches are also in the safe zones where there are also shops to buy loot if you can't be asked to grind for it. But who needs to buy loot or grind when you can steal it? Jumping back to the main playthrough, it was time to explore. After we had dicked around at the base trying to invite one of our team to the party, and making him put his clothes back on, I decided to leave them to finish up the woodwork and went off in search of some blood and some sweet loot. It's at this point I ended up in a prison of sorts for the first time. You'll understand what I mean by that later in the video. But in this case, I essentially ended up dying and encountered my first bug of respawning in somebody else's base. As you can see, I was ecstatic, thinking I had hit the mother lode with the owners peacefully sleeping and their loot ripe for the taking. These guys were stacked with weapons, and even had a furnace already. There was one problem. I couldn't get out. While my team was off actually doing useful things, I thought the best course of action would be to start hacking my way through the floor. I'll admit that I did this for longer than I probably should have, and it's not the first time I've been a hyper loot focused goblin, and continued for at least 20 minutes anyway, even asking other players if they could help rescue me. Unfortunately, after breaking most of the weapons I wanted to steal in the first place, I had no choice but to give up and decided to come back at a later time and continue looting somewhere else. Now, around the map, there are lots of places of interest to check out, including peasant homes and camps where you can kill the poor hostile NPCs and take their loot. But the most important location, which stores all the best loot, is the main castle right in the middle of the map. Once every hour or so, the whole server is notified that it's opening, and you're free to go in and try to take as much as you can carry. As soon as the notification came up, I made a beeline for the palisades and made my way inside and down to the basement without too much trouble. I began looting, and then the server had a scheduled restart. No worries, I just log back in and take the gear back to my team, right? Well, turns out that when the server restarts, the castle also resets the timer and closes all the doors. And that's how I ended up in prison all over again. Though this one was far less comfy, and as it wasn't a player built structure, there was no way for me to dig my way out. The only perk to being down here was that every time I took a new weapon from the rack, they would reset, meaning once again I was stacked, but couldn't do anything with it. Eventually, after being down there for so long and getting laughed at by my team, I asked a mod in the Discord if they could help me out, and was promptly told, "It's not possible!" and that the castle opens once every 1 to 2 hours. I decided I'd just steal my resolve and wait. But then, out of nowhere, a guardian angel appeared. Another mod, Devwenjun, had joined the server and offered to TP me out of my cage. Just quick shout out to him for being a legend and allowing me to safely escape and be able to run all the stolen weapons back to the comfort of our now built up base. With our fresh weapons, we were now able to truly take on anyone who wanted to challenge us, except this bloody damn OP bear who followed us all the way from his cave, clipping through our front door and not letting us leave.
Well, you're just unbearable, aren't you? Come on, take that! Shit.
GG bear. Before I logged off, I ventured to the castle one final time, fighting some players and trying to sneak out undetected by hiding under the stairs as more entered. Unfortunately, my escape didn't go as planned, and I decided to call it quits.
Oh my god, there's another... No, guys, listen. Oh.
All in all, I had a lot of fun playing this demo, and I'm very excited to see how the development progresses. It appears that in the future, you'll have the opportunity to construct your own castles or villages ripe for raiding with crafted battering rams or siege equipment. Although I didn't get to explore all these possibilities, I'd recommend checking out RDBK's gameplay trailer to see their planned features involving customization and progression. If you haven't played the game and are interested, you can support its development by purchasing early access as a backer through their website. However, as you've seen in this video, it's still in its very early stages. Despite the current bugs and animation quirks, I still recommend it if you're looking for a fresh take on the melee genre. Be sure to check them out through the link in the description, or at least keep watching their development, as the devs are definitely onto something exciting. On a personal note, I'm hoping they consider adding a hunger and thirst system to deepen the survival aspect, although there are currently no plans for that feature. I hope you enjoyed this video on something that isn't Mordhau, and if you did, please consider showing your support by clicking that subscribe button and giving this video a like. Thanks for watching, and keep mooking them dukes.